looks like you got a lot of wind outside with the trees waving. But how are
Yeah,
you otherwise? How is
I'm doing
COVID
great.
impacting you personally?
Um, you know, I'm almost embarrassed to say it's actually been quite good for me. Um, I've not been happier. It's very sad what's going on, and I feel really bad for so many friends of mine who are having such tremendous impact. And we've got some companies that have got problems, but in general, I've lost like 14 pounds, and I'm getting to hang out with my kids and my wife, and I'm not on a plane every week. And my commute has gone from an hour and a half down to 6 or 7 seconds. So I'm actually I'm enjoying this.
Actually, maybe we got all of the insights we needed to. So just from that answer, because judging from your response, this is a huge on executives be working in the future.
I'd be very happy to I I'm really enjoying it. I mean, I love seeing people, um, but I'm Zooming all day long, and I don't find it dramatically different. I just find it so much more efficient. Uh, when you're having to either be the person traveling or being the host for somebody that's traveling coming in, um, it's every meeting has to be at least an hour. Now we're able to do so much more in the amount of time that we have. So many of my meetings are 15 to 30 minutes long. And so I'm getting 2 to 3 times more efficiency. Plus, I'm not on trains or planes or sitting in automobiles. So I'm probably getting 3 to 4 more hours worth of productivity a day, and with lower stress. And because Zoom has become um, so much accepted. There was a long time ago when people kept trying to bring out video conferencing. And I was always a big supporter of it, but the systems weren't very easy to use. With Zoom, it's simple. And so I do so much more Zoom calls than actual just regular phone calls. So you really feel like you're with the person. There's slight elements of body language that you're not seeing. But for the most part, you're getting, I think, 80–90% benefit. And so you can really do much more remotely with this sort of environment.
So great, Q&A are starting to come through the app. So what I'll do is I'll continue to ask you a few of our questions I had written. Yes, I really appreciate your insights about what's happening with your with Zoom, and how you're saving more time in the day. One of the concerns I do have is that because of Mongolia, we don't have local transmissions of cases. Maybe I'm concerned maybe Mongolian executives may not fully realize how fast the world is adopting Zoom and moving on. What's happening is that what I'm realizing is that virtual can move at warp speed. And for example, last week I had, meetings with 50 business leaders from 30 different countries in 1 week, made some best friends and so on, everything through WhatsApp, Zoom, all these communication devices, and things moving very fast. So, for anybody who thought you can't make best friends or business partners without meeting them in person, I would say probably that's mistaken. And that's what I'm hoping, is that because Mongolia is still on in terms of work and meetings, hopefully people don't move behind the virtual curve. So I guess the first question I have is, how is COVID impacting your investments? You did mention a few are down.
Yeah, COVID is decimating a lot of industries and a tremendous number of companies and unfortunately people's lives. Um, for us, our first impact was operational. When everything started to happen a couple of months ago, we had to react very, very quickly to um, turn our companies from physical companies into virtual companies. And that was an incredible challenge that took us many weeks to be able to perfect. And our teams worked around the clock to do that. I mean, simple things like we had one of our companies that had a little over 1,000 employees, and this company was doing anti-money laundering for some of the biggest banks and payments companies. And our contracts prohibited us doing work outside of our four walls of our office. And we had desktops. We needed to quickly get all of our employees operating in secure environments from their homes. And we had to procure almost 1,000 computers. It turned out that was not an easy thing to do. Everybody was procuring computers all at once. And everyone was trying to get bandwidth for their employees to work from home. And we had to renegotiate every contract we had with clients. So the first aspect of COVID was, how do you actually continue to operate? And for some of our companies, we had to literally rethink the business operations of the companies to enable us to be virtual. That we're now over, thank God. So then it comes down to, is your company being impacted on the top line? And that impact can actually be an impact where the top line goes to close to zero, or it could be an impact where it's actually shooting up. And both of those, when all of a sudden a business changes overnight, and it's either getting dramatically more business or little to no business, you're going to have to react to that. For us, we were very negative going into the crisis, so we were pretty conservative on what we were looking to invest in over the last several years. But with that said, we had, for example, one of our companies is the largest tabletop company. It makes plates and silverware and glasses, and it sells mostly through the big retailers. Well, literally overnight, they all closed down. So our business went to almost zero, other than our online business, which has gone up. But even though it's up 400%, it's up 400% from a small base. And so, the company is literally on life support right now. So that company, which just a couple of, last year was a couple $100 million company, it might not survive. So we're now having to deal with all of our lenders and trying to figure out how we can keep this company alive and renegotiate with our lenders and probably have to recapitalize the company. But there's a chance we're not going to make it on that one. On other companies we have one company that I said it's the tail of the tape. I've talked to a lot of people about COVID has done stuff that is so unpredictable. Some of our companies that theoretically should be having trouble are actually having record months. And one of our companies that's our most defensive company, because if you go back through any economic cycle in the past, this company does outsourcing for cities and states and healthcare like hospitals to get their bills out. It's called accounts receivable management. And then if people don't pay their bills, then they have to go through the collections process. And they make more money if people don't pay their bills because we have to do more work. Well, normally that industry should be booming right now because the economy is so tough, people aren't paying their bills. But in this case, our clients came to us and said at the cities, don't try to collect money if people owe it to us. When have you ever heard a city say, don't try to collect taxes? But that's exactly what's happening in this crisis. So we're having to react in very different ways that our pre-COVID plans had to be thrown out the door. Whereas another one of our companies that's in the marketing services, B2B marketing services, marketing is typically gets cut back during crisis. And so we were prepared that this company would likely run into trouble. But because conferences and trade shows aren't happening, all the big technology companies are moving their marketing online, and our company is having record months. So it's such an unusual crisis that we're having to rewrite our playbooks on a constant basis.
So by the way, I didn't introduce Doug because we kind of just dove right in. But you know, I'm sure everybody read Doug's bio on the website and our marketing materials. But you know, he's huge in terms of entrepreneurship worldwide. He was the first person to graduate in the world with entrepreneurship degree because he created it, and he was formerly chairman for National Commission on Entrepreneurship in USA. So he's essentially a godfather of entrepreneurship, you know, worldwide. He's running Clarion Capital, big private equity fund that does, you know, invests in a diverse variety of portfolio companies. And he used to also sit on Kaufman Foundation board as well. So super excited and happy to have him here. So now the intro is over. So make sure to include that. So let me ask you a few other questions. I guess the one thing I definitely want to get to is that since we started to talk about pivoting already for some of your companies, and that's our main theme, you know, do you have like one or two more like a pivoting example, or maybe more so about how your portfolio companies are actually doing the pivoting?
Yeah, so you know, it's interesting. Again, pivoting a couple of different things. One is just rapidly making sure that your company can survive. So, you know, we had to take out not just our plans, every one of our companies, we go through strategic planning, you do all kinds of risk assessments. You know, with COVID, as I said before, everything got thrown out. We needed to very quickly make sure we had enough liquidity to survive. So, and Mark Moses had mentioned cash is king. You know, for us, cash. Quickly make sure that you've taken down every credit line that we could take down, do scenario planning, and real severe planning, because we wanted to make sure in one of our companies that account receivable company, we were able to make available through a number of different ways what we believe to be up to 24 months worth of cash. And it's critical because, you know, a lot of people thought we were going to have a V-shaped recovery. You know, everything was just going to go back to normal. And I think that that's completely out the door. You know, certain countries and certain industries are going to come back much faster or are already succeeding because of COVID. The question on that is, will it continue? You know, people that are now making masks, at some point, we're going to have an oversupply of masks. So people got a quick bump in making masks and other, you know, PPE equipment. That's not going to last. So what are you going to do when all of a sudden you've ramped everything up and then it comes back down, or prices, you know, drop by 50%? So you have to be doing this sort of planning. The second thing is dealing with the team. So, you know, we've had to make some substantial cuts in some of our companies, you know, where we had to fire or furlough 40% of our people. Which people are you going to furlough? You know, you have to use this as an opportunity to try to keep your best people and get people to do more. And so, you know, we've gone through a lot of work on communicating with our team, making sure people know that, you know, we took action very quickly. We went deep in our actions so that the people that were staying had the comfort in knowing that we're trying to do everything for the people that are still left in the company. Then it's about the business models. So, there are some amazing outcomes that are happening because of COVID. When we had to go virtual, in most cases, we weren't allowed to go virtual before the crisis. Now, all of a sudden, we are. So the question is, do we have to go back to offices? Or what percentage do we have to go back to offices? But more than just, let's say, the cost of office space, to us, it's actually about what is the benefit in your recruitment if all of a sudden you can hire people in different geographies than where your office space is located. Can you get better people by being unencumbered by physical space? Can you have lower cost people because you can hire them in rural areas or overseas, for example? So the arbitrage opportunity, both in availability of staff and cost, and being able to eliminate some of your physical office space, changes the economic model of your business. And then there's the aspects of what business are you in? I'll give you an example. A friend of mine's company, he was building equipment that goes connected to an iPad for places like concerts and hotels and office buildings, that as people would walk by, you would be able to tell if somebody had a weapon on them. And he was trying to build this business, and all of a sudden COVID hits. And people were calling him saying, interesting what you're doing, but can you tell if people have a temperature? And so they quickly pivoted the product. In a matter of less than 2 months, they now have come out with a product that they're selling literally millions of dollars a week worth of this new product that they're just bringing out by the thousands to handle everybody who needs to know if people have fevers as they're coming into their offices. So what is your business, and what exists in your companies that you might have made? Another friend of mine, he made these specialized cleaning equipment and vacuums for cleaning boilers and cleaning heating and air conditioning systems on tops of roofs. And he had a tiny little product that they owned, which was able to aerosolize alcohol, which can then be used to clean surfaces for things like COVID, very efficiently, cost and time efficient. All of a sudden this comes, his one business has dropped by like 70%, and he was concerned about whether or not he could stay in business. On the other side of his business, people cannot order these things fast enough. So he's going to be 2-3 times larger as a business because of this little thing that existed in his company that he was able to quickly pivot his business towards. So I challenge people to really think about, what is it that their clients need? What is it that the markets need, and what can they do with their companies to react to
that? So a question I have from the Hoover event app. So what industries and services will flourish?
Will flourish in this? So, the areas that we're looking at.
What industry services?
Yeah, so areas that we're looking substantially, and I'll answer the question in 2 ways. One is, what are the industries that we're looking at that are going to flourish now? And then the second way that I'm going to answer it is, what are some of the interesting opportunities that we're looking at that you need to be able to withstand the impact of COVID, but are getting killed right now that could come back? So on the first one, we think that there's a lot of opportunity and there's going to be a whole changing set of industries that are coming out. Some are not going to be great for us because they're more venture oriented, but there is, we believe that what is happening in this pandemic is that behavior is changing because the pandemic is going to last long enough. So people say that it takes time to change habits. And if you can go do new things over a period of months, it'll actually become a habit. Well, things like virtual meetings are going to be continuous. Being able to have an efficiency on running meetings in a remote sense for board meetings, for conferences, for trade shows. What's out there today is still very, very simple. You know, Hoover's, one is as an example, of a new business that's trying to address it, but you're going to see lots of new technologies coming in for that. That's going to play in things like retail. The retail experience, which today was people would go into stores, but then they'd be able to go to Amazon to go search for lower priced products. I think you're going to see a lot more companies that are going to create a true virtual reality type experience where you'll be able to try things on and be able to see what it would look like on your body or what would it look like in your home. And so being able to do that sort of activity, because retail is unfortunately in very substantial trouble and people are going to have to find new ways. So e-commerce is going to continue to grow. Amazon is going to be continuing to be a huge player in it. But I think you're going to see many more business models come out relative to this. Education, e-education and virtual education is going to be a massive growth industry, both for technology to enable it, but also you're going to see a lot more e-learning that's going to come out. So many different technologies. We're very excited about the food and ingredients industries. We think that there's still a big growth, and because of e-commerce and because people are more comfortable now having food delivered to them, I think you're going to see a dramatic rise in businesses that create experiential food-related activities. You're already starting to see people send boxes where you can make your food. I think that was experimented. It didn't do well the first time around, but now people are looking to do more and more of this. So, these are some of the experiences. The other areas that are obvious is entertainment, virtual entertainment. So esports is going to have a continued huge growth. I think online gaming is going to grow dramatically because states in the United States are in such trouble from a tax revenue standpoint that they're going to finally open up the gaming markets. So you're going to see a lot more activity happening in virtual entertainment and virtual gaming. The areas that are in big trouble, retail, you're going to see the office space market is going to be very soft. The big cities like New York are going to have pretty substantial apartment rental problems. We have looked a lot at live entertainment over the years, from sports to movie theaters to Broadway and other live entertainment. We've looked at companies in the past to buy like Harlem Globetrotters or the Bull Riders Association. People always wanted to go to, but it's going to take quite a while for fans to be able to go back. And the economics, unless you're the professional soccer teams around the world, or your baseball or football or basketball that have huge media rights, people rely on ticket sales. So these industries are going to be very severely hurt, and a lot of them are going to go bankrupt But if you can withstand owning these things for a couple of years, these could be incredible properties to own. So we're trying to do all the analysis people to travel again. What is it going to take for people to go back into seats? And then look to invest over the next 6 to 9 months in companies like that.
Thank you so much, Doug, for all your insights. Ton of insights there. We didn't get to a few questions, so I might shoot you an email on those questions. But a ton of insights in a very short time. Thank you so much for your time. We're at the top of the hour, so please do continue to join us. And thank you so much for your time, Doug.
Congrats on everything you've done, and I look forward to seeing the rest of the event.
Thank you so much.